lashing out now. It's very interesting. Let's ask the Vice President's former press secretary, Mark Lauder, Matt Schlapp, he's the chairman of the American Party activist, Chris Hahn. Mark, let's go to you. I've known Mike Pence since, oh gosh, when he was in Congress. He used to actually fill in for me occasionally on radio. We still joke about it. I found that from George Will actually really sad. He's had an unbelievable career as one of the premier columnists, writers in the United States. He obviously doesn't like Donald Trump. That's fine. But I thought it was filled with such low blows. And I just say, I wasn't even angry about it. I was actually sad about it.
It's not surprising. Let's remember that in 1986, he wrote a column that called then Vice President George H.W. Bush a lapdog. Here's a decorated war veteran, a hero who would later go on to be a transformational president. So I think George Will has a problem with vice presidents who serve transformational presidents of the United States. And to use a baseball term that I know George would like, you know, the best players in the world miss 7 out of 10 times. And in this case, I think he struck out swinging at a pitch in the dirt.
Well, let's go to you, Chris. I think there were overtones in this column that George wrote, and he was picked up by a lot of media figures, as happens on cable news. Someone writes something, we're talking about it. And he talked about how he genuflects at the altar. It was imbued with all these religious overtones, and it seemed really condescending to me. Condescending about Mike Pence's faith, almost questioning Mike Pence's faith. Oh, you're not a real Christian. I mean, he didn't write that. But you could read between the lines, and that's right. And I say this as someone, I like George Will. And, you know, a lot of people don't like George Will who watch this show. I actually like him. I've known him for a long time, and it pains me to say this, but I thought the column was beneath him and filled with low blows and not at all in any way illustrative of the man who Mike Pence is. And he's a wonderful person, and I think a very effective vice president.
Well, the column got picked because the vice president decided to plagiarize Richard Nixon during the Watergate scandal that morning that the column was released. And I think, look, while I do think the tone was harsh, it's not like George Will said his opinion doesn't matter because he's about to die, which is something that's been said inside the White House these days. So I think we got to back off on this is such a bad thing. Let's face it, the vice president is the bootlicker in chief in this administration right now. He is the one who praises the president most. He kisses his butt most. And what's sad about it is that in 2020, this president will drop him from the ticket because this president cares about ratings. And who he picks for his vice presidential candidate at the convention will be the biggest ratings night of that week. So, Mr. Pence, you might want to stand up to this president a little bit because he's not going to stand by you in the end.
Mac's going to take a swing at this, but before he does, so were you concerned about Vice President Biden taking on Obama? Because I'm trying to remember. Oh, wait, he never did. Like, when did Vice President Biden take on Obama for screwing up the Obamacare website, for screwing up Benghazi, for screwing up the trailing of journalists, for hounding people who applied for IRS status? When did Biden come out and challenge Obama's abuse of power? When did he do that? Never,
Laura,
Matt,
when did any vice president, when did any vice president
so why
ever
are you
really
going after
do
Mike
that?
Pence like that? You didn't criticize Biden for it because you know that vice president's role is to support the president of the United States. Go.
Yeah,
okay, so why is
one thing, but what he's doing is a little bit worse.
Hold on, Chris. Why is Mike Pence being attacked? You know why he's being attacked? Because it's about pride and ego of these Never Trump writers. They can't really admit that the agenda is the most conservative agenda we've ever seen, that he's actually doing what he said he would do. And you know what Mike Pence is doing? A man with a 99% voting record with the American Conservative Union. I don't know what he ever got wrong.
Party.
One thing wrong one time, and all the time was in Congress.
He disputes that. But
yeah, he disputes it. But the point is this. You get attacked by these people because they think we're deplorable. They don't think we have any moral standing to make the case that what Donald Trump is doing is the right thing.
And I'm telling you, Mark, when Hillary talked about the basket of deplorables, Obama talked about the bitter clingers. George Will, in this moment, has more in common with their view of middle America from where Mike Pence came than he does with the conservative voters across America who said, we fed up with these parties. We're going to go for someone who's going to take a wrecking ball to the old Washington way. It's elitist, it's snobbish, and it's unbecoming. It's unbecoming. So millions of Americans who support this administration are horrible, awful, racist, xenophobic, terrible people. Really? Good luck building a movement on that idea.
And this is not the first time this has happened. The same thing happened in 1980 when the American people turned their backs on the mainstream Republicans who had another preferred candidate and elected a strong leader like Ronald Reagan. They did it again in 2016 in President Trump, and the elitists can't get over it. They haven't gotten the memo.
Trump doesn't keep a thesaurus and Thucydides by his bed, perhaps. George will. It's always the 7-syllable words that like everyone has to look him up when he. Okay, that's fine. And I like that.
Yes.
That's kind of quirky about Will. I like that. But go ahead, Chris. My concern here is that the timing of this is curious. They're striking out on Trump. Trump's numbers are going up, so they think they can gin up something on Pence. I mean, Trump's numbers are improving day by day by day because the results are there for the American people.
Well, nobody's really going to base their numbers on Trump on what Pence is doing. I just think that George Will had a feeling about Mike Pence based on what happened in New Mexico when he went, in Arizona, when he went out there with Joe Arpaio. I think a lot of people have reasons to think Joe Arpaio is somebody who should not be touted by the vice president or the president. Joe Arpaio disobeyed a court order. Joe Arpaio, what he did out there was racist in many people's eyes. So I think George Will sees that. And he says, look, this is not the Republican Party. This is not the conservative movement that he grew up with, that he likes to see. And he would like to see Mike Pence be the backbone of conservatism to President Trump. Because let's face it, President Trump became a conservative about 4 years ago. Mike Pence has been a conservative his entire life. So if Mike Pence is becoming more like Donald Trump instead of bringing Donald Trump more like Mike Pence, then conservatives are going to have a problem with that. And I think that's what George Will was lashing out about it. And look, you want people to talk about it, you better say some crazy things.
Well, you're doing good at saying some crazy things, and all I would say is this, which is, do we want to win or do we not want to win? I know the president talks about if we won enough, we're tired of winning. Okay, but here's the deal. Conservatives are actually getting more done, and we're in a window where we can get even more done than we've ever gotten done.
Azar is going to be one of the big rock stars of this administration. The HHS secretary is not usually someone who gets a lot of attention. I've known him for 25 years. He clerked with me at the Supreme Court. Brilliant. But he could have been a cabinet secretary of many. He could have been AG. He could have been anything. Right. But he's doing this because we got to get this prescription drug stuff. This has to be tackled the right way. He's going to do a lot more. You got Bob Lighthizer, you got Wilbur Ross. These hold on, Chris.
John Bolton.
These are people of real substance who are doing really hard work. And I think it really irks people who are never Trumpers and a lot of the Democrats, because it's like they're throwing stuff up against the wall. And I'm telling you, when Steve Schmidt, because he ran a great campaign with McCain and Palin.
Where did he get
when
these
he wasn't
words?
trashing Palin, by the way. Steve Schmidt said this today. Let's watch.
We've listened to this guy for many, many years in this country on his moral high horse, assaulting the dignity of gay people across the board. Preening is famous throughout the land.
The same vice president who just swore in Rick Grinnell, gay American, to be a new ambassador to Germany. Yeah. Okay, so if you're if you're a faithful Christian, as he is, he's by nature homophobic. I mean, this is where we are in the country. You can't disagree on some core issues without being a terrible, awful, rotten, xenophobic, it's just the litany of stupidity.
Can I jump in on the timing?
Yes.
You're exactly right.
Well, he didn't say he was homophobic. He says he panders to people who are homophobic. It's very different.
Hold on. I'm happy that Rick Grinnell is going to Germany personally. I think it's a great thing for the country and for the administration and for America. But let's look at the timing of this. It is because if you look at all the polls, the right track, wrong track, it's improving for the first time in a decade. Trump's numbers get better and better. And you know, the only place where Trump is a little weak is foreign affairs. And he's having all these accomplishments. What the Democrats are seeing is this big blue wave is starting to go away. And this is why they're starting to panic.
Chris, I want to play a bite from you from our friend Nicole Wallace, who's always been very charitable toward people who make mistakes. She was on MSNBC today, and she got very upset about Sarah Sanders. Let's watch.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck? Why can't she just say, if a staffer said that, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and she'll be fired?
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck? She went on Twitter and she apologized. Oh, she said, I guess the tension's getting to her. I used poorly chosen words for that. Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, they're talking about the
on a minute, guys.
We do not
know. Look, Matt.
Yes,
Nicole
Chris.
Wallace apologized. Sadler should apologize, and the White House should apologize for that statement about an American. And the White House. Ridiculous. I don't understand why they can't apologize for anything. John McCain, I do not agree with John McCain on a lot of things, but John McCain is an American hero who should be respected and who should not be talked about by this administration as he has been, not just by Sadler, but by the president himself.
This is enough of all this. First of all, you don't know what happened in a private meeting. None of us knows what's happened there. I love all the moral judgments that come in. I think John McCain deserves his peace and quiet at this trying time. We all believe this. But he still has a voting record, and it's okay to talk about it. And it's okay to talk about him opposing the president's nominee to be the head of the CIA.
You know what?
All that
you know what John McCain said? He said, "Don't feel sorry for me." He said, "Don't feel sorry for me."
Matt, there's so much nasty rhetoric out there, Matt.
Yeah,
Matt, there's so much nasty rhetoric out there that needs to calm down, and it starts at the top. It starts with the president. We see that CPAC where your communications director said some horrible things about Michael Steele. Where's the apology there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Chris, we can go back and I can cherry pick the bright lights of the left in the entertainment industry, in the media. Now we're threatening to choke people. We're going to blow the White House.
We're talking about the White House.
But if we're going to talk about vitriol, I mean, check out my Twitter feed any time of the day. It doesn't bother me. It's like whatever.
And
you're
mine.
all stupid. I don't care.
And mine.
So, but don't pretend to be like these shrinking violets. John McCain is American hero. John McCain had a conservative voting record on a lot of issues. He disagreed with the president on a lot of issues. And I believe he said, it was last year, don't feel sorry for me. I'm going to fight my fight. Don't feel sorry for me. He's not someone who wants to be treated with kid gloves at any point. He's a tough guy who can handle himself, and he's an amazing person.
All I'm saying, it's really easy for the White House just to say, you know what, that was unfortunate. We apologize to the McCain family for that. They're going through a very trying time, not just him, his entire family.
She already called the McCain family.
Stop it, Chris. Let's not try to drive a wedge on these types of questions.
Say something from the podium. Sarah Sanders needs to just say something from this.
Look, we have policy disagreements with these people at MSNBC. Michael Steele goes on the TV all the time, calls the president the worst things, and then he acts like he has the moral high ground. The same thing for my friend Nicole, and the same thing for these people who attack all of us Republicans who stand with the president.
We're different when it's coming from the White House, Matt. You used to work there. You know this.
I'm proud
of working there. It's different when it comes from the White House.
My wife works there, and I don't think you should smudge the characters of these good people. You shouldn't do it.
Mocking and before we
I'm
let
not.
everybody
They're
go,
smudging their own characters.
Take a breath. Mocking people's faith. If it were done against an Islamic individual or people who are not considered the horrible, awful, hateful people, Mike Pence has been mocked repeatedly by the popular culture that are fans and fanatics of the left. And it's been tolerated, and it's a wink and a nod. They think Christians are all stupid, knuckle-dragging troglodytes. Anyone who supports Trump is an idiot. That's what basically George Will thinks. And I think it's backfiring. So the left has got to try a different tactic. If you want to win, you've got to bring these people into the fold, not insult them. We're out of time. Thanks, gentlemen. Coming